Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Lizard Brains podcast. I'm your host, DJ Alessandrini, and I'm joined by my co-host, Tom O'Gorman. Tom, how are we doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I was gonna say you can't thumbs up in an audio format.
Dude, I just finished I got a FaceTime call with my family just to catch up.
Mm-hmm.
So we're talking, catching up, whatever, and I gave a thumbs up, and all of a sudden my phone was giving like balloons and thumbs up logos all around me. It's like, what is that?
All right, Apple.
No one else could get it to. I know they couldn't get it to do it either. So I got pretty excited about that. So I guess I'm good.
Tom's day is looking up. That's kind of crazy. What? Nobody
It
else
knew what I was doing, and I could make a heart like this in front of the screen with my hands, and it would make little hearts come out of it. We need those effects on the podcast. Guys, if you're not listening to the podcast with the video on it yet, you're going to miss out on all these special effects.
All Tom's hand hearts.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm tired. Me and Christine, we started working out together every morning. And you know how you know when people say like, "Oh, you feel like you have more energy." We're freaking dragging, dude. we're like sleepy at like 9 o'clock.
Is it because you changed your sleep schedule in order to fit the workout in, or is it because you're doing the workout?
It's probably a mix of both, honestly. So just
because you're getting up early?
Yeah, I'm just, this is gonna be a chill episode, everyone. I don't know how many rants we'll have during this episode, unless Tom has one. Oh, he gave me a face like he has a rant. Hold on, let me get the Thomas the Tank Engine music ready.
I don't think I have a rant today. No, I'm actually feeling a little, baseline today too, because I got home from Texas yesterday at like 6 p.m. So I'm just barely outside of my 24-hour window. It's currently 8 p.m. the next day. So
are you still experiencing your dopamine crash?
It's not so, a little. We ended the weekend pretty high, so it was like definitely a bigger crash. But you know how I need like 24 hours of just under a rock to recover from a weekend, like socially.
Yeah,
that's kind of where I'm at.
Gotcha. Yep. Hey, nothing like recovering socially, like recording a podcast for hundreds of people, huh?
That's like I said, we're 26 hours out, so I'm good.
Yeah. Oh, you're ready to go now. Cool. That's good.
2 hours ago.
Yeah. No way. So yeah, you went racing this weekend. That's exciting. Yo, Tom, it's February 6th, and have you even had a chance to get rusty? Because you've already driven so much. No, I was gonna.
I've driven. It's 4 events in 5 weeks for this year so far, that's pretty. I'm happy about that.
Yeah, you son of a bitch. I'm jealous.
You know what I'm most happy about? I was thinking about this. It means that the iRacing and sim racing that I'm doing means so much less, and I'm really glad about that.
I envy that. It's everything to me right now.
I understand that, and I appreciate that for you, but for me, the reality of iRacing is a very unhealthy mental state. So the further I can get away from iRacing feeling like the only driving I do, the better.
I mean, that does sound nice. I get to drive a car in 2 weeks. I'm excited.
Oh, where are you going?
I'm going to CMP. Me and Peter are already starting our 1-lap practice.
Awesome.
So
that's good.
I get to visit CMP in a Miata that doesn't hate transmissions in itself. So it's going to be good. I drove there.
Miata?
No, I drove there with Mitch, and that car really didn't want to race that weekend.
Right. But what do you mean? You said you're driving there in a Miata this time?
I said I get to drive it in not a Miata that hates itself.
Got it.
Yep. Yeah. Raul, I'm going to be there with NASA. It's actually my first ever NASA event.
Is it a full race weekend?
I don't know. I didn't look into it. I just signed up for what I was told to sign up for. I have no idea. I'm going to be like, I'm sure it's going to feel like every other track event ever, but it's like, I feel like the NASA crowd, and maybe I'm wrong, and Tom, maybe you would know. Do they kind of like keep to themselves? Or am I going to know people there?
That's hard for me to say because I don't know who you know. I tend to know people at NASA events because I go to NASA events in the Midwest. And the crowd that's at those are people that I've known across the years. Most of my first track days were with NASA. Like the first 2 or 3.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you'll know people. I think you'll end up knowing people,
I mean, I'll know Peter, and I'll know the people that are coming out with Peter because they autocross and they like kind of live in like the Florida area. So
right?
I'll know those people. So it's not like I'm gonna be there and like not know anyone, but I'm just like curious, like the crossover, essentially.
My experience with NASA regional events is a social environment similar to like SCCA time trial.
Oh, okay. Well, hey,
It's
that's a
pretty
good
good.
environment. Yeah.
Yeah, like there's like the party of grid life, and then there's like honestly my SCCA racing experience. That's very clicky because it's just like teams and not clicky in a bad way. Don't take that the wrong way. But then there's NASA and SCCA time trial, kind of that like chill. People are in the paddock. If you walk around, you just find yourself talking to new people.
I'm excited to
Should be good.
drive CMP
That's
and
Midwest though, so I don't know.
yeah, yeah. I'm excited to drive CMP in something fast because like it was fun in a GLTC car, but I felt like a lot of those corners, like if you came at them with a little bit more speed, because there's a lot of them that are just kind of easy flat. Uh, that
Yeah.
coming at them with a little bit more speed would add a lot of nuance to the track. So I felt like it would flow a lot better, especially with a lot, like toward the end of the lap, a lot of the like increasing radius turns would probably be a good time.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. What did you do this weekend?
Dude, Tom, uh, I had like the best coaching weekend ever so far. I'm honestly I'm having so much fun with it. It's so much fun. Uh, yeah, it's just it's I know like I know like the everyone getting help with the sim, like they're getting like preparation for the like upcoming season and stuff like that. I'd say that's a majority of the people that I'm working with right now. I think I'm only working with 3 people that are they just want to be like good at the sim for the sim, and then everyone else is they're just like geeked up for the season and they want to like shake off rust or like get ready for some event that's coming up or something like that. And it's I don't know, I I think I just really enjoy it. I just really like being part of that like troubleshooting process. Like I like troubleshooting stuff that isn't involving race cars. So when it involves race cars and driving and like human performance, like that is like just inherently rewarding. So yeah, I've been super digging that. But yeah, this weekend was super busy with coaching. I think I was at like max capacity this weekend. Uh so yeah.
You get
What?
any business from last week's
I did. I
from
did. Yep.
Hey, that's good.
So uh reach out. If you want some help in iRacing or you know want to use iRacing as the great tool that it is. It's not like every single person is a reoccurring like weekly customer. I'd say like half of them are. So that means it leaves the other half for people who just want to check in. I did a couple setting consultations this weekend, and oh man, I helped this one dude. He was driving. It was like the most GoPro thing you've ever seen. And I was like looking on my side. I'm like, this doesn't look right because we're using Discord, right? And I'm like, does it seem like you're sitting in a car? And he goes, yeah. Yeah, it does. And I'm like, "No, I don't think this is right." So, like, we play with the settings and I, like, do some Googling 'cause, I've actually never set up triple monitors before. And so I'm doing some Googling and I'm like, "Oh, crap, we forgot to check, like, 1 box." And it's like, "Oh, crap, now I feel silly for, like, missing that 1 box." And we go back and check the box, and now it looks like it should. And I was like, "Now does it feel like you're sitting in a car?" And he was pretty excited. He's like, "Oh, okay, I see what you meant. Now it feels like I'm sitting in a car." So it's like you don't know what you're missing until like you have it and then you're like, "Oh, okay, this is what it should be like. This is nice." So,
Yeah,
it's just fun having those moments like throughout the weekend.
sure. I had a question that I immediately forgot.
It's gone
Uh,
forever.
oh, I was gonna make a joke because you said it was like the most GoPro thing ever. Is like, does that mean his screen just doesn't come on sometimes, or what?
Yeah, so sometimes dude, the weirdest GoPro thing that's ever happened to me is and it was my second GLTC win. I clicked record, did the race, got back, couldn't wait to watch it because I just thought it was a really good race. And when I go to the file, I'm like, what the heck? It's only like 3 minutes long. It turned off after 3 minutes. And then I click on it. It has none of the beginning. It only had the last 3 minutes.
Oh, I thought
What?
you were gonna say it was in like time lapse or fast forward mode or
No,
somehow.
I've had
Like,
that happen way too many times.
yeah,
But this time I hit record. It was video. Tom, there goes my GoPro sponsorship in the chat.
yeah. Oops.
um, and it somehow recorded the end of the race. It's not like in the race. I'm like, hold on, I gotta get this shit on camera. And then like through the containment seat and while all bolted in, I like hit the camera. It just, I don't know what happened in the beginning of the footage. It's just gone.
That's so weird, dude. It is always. There are videos that you're glad you have, but if there's a video that you know in the moment you're like so excited about to watch later,
And then it's not
I
there.
feel like every time that's the video that fails. Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
Did I ever tell the story of my my TCA car when the control arms were failing?
You didn't get video on that?
No. So it was in 2017 at the end of the year, we were at Laguna Seca, the first year I was racing the Civic, and the control arms basically just they carry the spring, the lower control arm in the rear, and they were slowly buckling every time I'd go through the corkscrew. So this is the first race of the weekend, and the car started to get really loose, and then it would like go down the straights, kind of crab walking like side to side, and then it was like manjiing, like drifting side to side. You
So
can go out. There's a stream of it from the race broadcast, and they kind of highlight me because they can tell the car is like not correct.
not doing what it should.
But you can see it like streaking black marks from the rear tires as I go down the straight like this,
What,
like
what,
ski moguls.
what are you looking like in the car right there? You just have loose hands and you're just like, well, freaking figure it out.
So it was like manji. It was like back and forth into the brake zone. I had to be counter steering into the brake zone, so the car is loaded away from the corner, but I'm steering into the corner. And then as soon as I wanted to turn in, I would have to like weight transfer and then counter steer through the corner or like neutral steer, and then like do it all over again. And I was so excited. Even the commentators in the race were like, "Oh, we can't wait to see this in car footage of this race.
Oh
That car looks
no.
horrible. That car looks." Didn't work. And that was not a GoPro. That was a Replay XD. So
Dang it. Pax just sent a message of like a voice message in the chat. I don't know what that is. I gotta click on it. Hopefully it's
either. Um,
it was
where did that story come from? Oh, the GoPros. Yeah,
I
videos.
clicked on the sound and it was I think his pocket did it. So
Yeah.
dang it. He says mistake.
Oops.
Oops.
So
You ever have a pocket text end up on a podcast? Pax just did.
yeah.
So yeah, cameras suck. Like honestly, somebody come up with an aim that doesn't cost $1,000, please. Thank you. You would literally take over the motorsports industry.
Yeah. I got video from this weekend I'm really excited about. I didn't edit it today, so I'll post it tomorrow, which when this comes out on the podcast, it'll still be up, which I will be now 5 weeks in a row with a video on my YouTube channel.
Go, Tom. I haven't
Come on,
done
2024
I haven't
goals.
done that at all. Woo!
It's not too late. Dude, this weekend ended up being so fun. I would not have said that Saturday night, but by Sunday night it was so fun.
Wait, what happened on Saturday?
Well, it was just a standard weekend, I would say, until then. So, but anyway, I had a couple stories. So Friday, it was a WRL weekend at Eagles Canyon Raceway. I saw a couple people who listened, so it was cool to see them. But we were there with the two ASM maintained S2000s, which are GP2 cars. So they're like a little slower than GLTC, but they also do race in GLTC. And the ASM car was Andy and Alex Moss, who owns the car, and Matt Waldbaum and Aaron Lichty. And then I was racing with Salil Shukla and Mike Forsyth and their other friend, Sun, who I've met before but never raced with. So we had four people each car. If you haven't done WRL before, Friday is all, they call it qualifying, but it's 6 half-hour sessions that are just open. You go out and whatever time at the end of the day was your fastest is your qualifying. Well, first thing in the morning, sessions 1, 2, and 3 are all dry. But it also means that like you have 4 drivers to get through the car and there's 4 classes on track, and it's very disjointed unless you like make an effort to go do a lap. So we did that first thing in the morning. We got the lap, we were on pole, but then in the second half of the day it was raining. So there was no rain in the forecast. There was no reason to really go out in the wet. But I, as we've talked about, believe that you should learn every track you can possibly learn in the wet because it's like a completely different track.
And there's nuances and yeah.
Right. You never know when you're going to need that information, whether it's 5, 10 years from now or tomorrow. So they let me go out and I'm scrubbing some tires, but I'm also learning. And the track actually has like a pretty significant rain line that's going to mean lots of seconds per lap. So I'm like learning and having a good time. And I'm so happy. Like, it's just like, that's my element. I love driving on the track in the wet. But it was really also interesting to walk around the paddock over the next, let's say, 16 to 24 hours. Because I heard everything from, now there's not really a rain line. It's not that old of pavement. It's basically just drive on the dry line and you're fine. Two, dude, I heard this place is just as bad as Mid Ohio in the wet. You got to be careful.
Oh.
It's going to be slick as hell out there.
Oh, come on.
And I'm like, I was just on track with this yesterday, and neither of those things are true. But it's so like if you were only talking to those people, that would be the information you have, and
Yeah.
you wouldn't really know. So that's why I'm like, okay, I need to learn these tracks in the wet, right? I just thought those like rumors were funny. So Saturday was fine, except we had an axle fail halfway through the race. So we were off track for like 30 minutes. They fixed it and brought it back out. So I think we finished fifth, a couple laps down. But Sunday, the race was going about the same. We ended up in third, 3 laps down from the leader, which was the other ASM S2000. Then there was an MX5 that was also in the lead lap. So it was the top 2, 3 laps, and then us. And oh, I forgot. On Saturday, I got in the car and there was like no brake pedal.
Really?
Like 0 brake pedal. So it was like, it would sort of stop, but it would be stopping like way down at the firewall. And I got in, I'm like, I had no information that was going to be that way. Salil got out, and apparently he was like, yeah, the brakes are really bad. But I'm like, the brakes
Okay.
are really bad. So I do almost 2 hours. Actually, I do like a full 2 hours.
With no brakes?
Fuel saving with basically no brakes. And they found out the left rear caliper had been leaking from the piston the entire stint. And when I finished, I cooled down. I was way away from everybody. I saw a pit lane traffic jam to get back into the paddock. So I checked the brakes before the final corner. Firewall, nothing. And I had to like pump and bring him back. I'm like, how did I race like that for 2 hours?
Oh
What am I doing?
my God, Tom.
Okay, so otherwise Saturday was what it was. Back to Sunday.
Hold on. I can't
3 laps
believe
down.
I can't believe a leaky caliper lasted that long.
It was like 4 hours.
I think you probably had to pump the brake because the reservoir finally got to the point where it sucked air into it.
It didn't even the reservoir was pretty full.
Okay,
it was the weirdest thing.
Maybe the leaky caliper pulled air into it. So when you were trying to pump the brakes, you had to like push the air out.
Maybe because there was no amount of pumping that could actually bring pressure back. It would just like sort of make the car stop a little better, but it was the same lack of pressure. It was super weird.
Yeah, that is super weird. But they fixed it by changing the caliper?
Replacing the caliper, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So that was like that's the kind of like budget endurance racing kind of thing that you have to just be prepared for to get in the car, and the car is just horrible, and you have to make it work. All right, so back to Sunday. Let's say 2 hours to go. I'm about to get in the car. We're 3 laps down. Right before I get in the car, the MX5 that's in front of us gets a lap penalty. So now they're 2 laps in front of us. ASM is still 3 laps in front of us. We do our final pit stop under green. I get in the car. They're like, okay, we have 2 laps to catch this car. It needs to be this much faster than this car per lap to catch them. Then a full course yellow comes out. I'm like, okay, so this is like going to be amount of time that I can't catch them.
Yeah.
Plus, it was like 2 laps later, so we had just pit under green, and we knew the ASM and the S2000 and the MX5 both needed pit stops. So they got like a free pit stop under yellow. So that car pits in, and the way that it cycled around, that we were 2 laps behind them, I was stuck behind one car that we were like the last people before the pace car came out. So we had to catch up to the entire field. And if we caught up fast enough, I would pass that car in pit lane to gain one of our laps back. But this guy was going super slow. So my strategist on the radio, which was one of the 2 guys from Zebulon Aero, he's also the engineer for the Pratt Miller Corvette in GTD. So he's like, knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
He's like, you need to get that guy to go faster. Like flash your lights, whatever you can do, get him to get to the back of the field as fast as possible. So I'm behind this little Miata. I'm flashing my lights like crazy. I'm out the window going like this. And in my brain, I'm going like, go, 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 go. And every time he'd speed up, I'd give him the thumbs up out the window. Like, yes.
You're like,
go, go, go.
You're
Flash,
like
flash,
socially
flash.
coaching
Yes.
somebody for racing gain.
Yeah.
You got your team on the pit wall cheering for him. Woo!
Yeah. But he caught up fast enough that we got 1 and 5 positions of our lap back. So we're on the lead lap when we go green again, but like 5 cars in front of the car that we need to catch. So call it a full lap down.
Dude, hold on.
But
Hold on. That engineer guy is so legit for just being like he's on the pit wall. He recognizes the situation and then he's just like, "Tom, this is whatever you got to do." And you're like, "Okay." Like
yep,
do you think you would or do you think you would have done that without him? Right. So
no,
Tom
no
shook his
idea.
head no. Yeah.
He was using his same spreadsheet that they use for the IMSA races with the Corvette.
Oh, that's so
Uh,
cool, dude.
so he knew everyone else's pit strategy. He knew our fuel per lap. Like he was legit. It was super cool to
That's
have him
super
there.
cool.
And he's from Colorado, and so it's a pair of twins that own Zebulon, and both of them work full time as their normal jobs in professional racing. One of them engineers mostly like Porsche stuff, and then this other guy, the other one that was there this weekend, Tyler, has worked for Pratt Miller for a handful of years.
Is Zebulon
So like he
like a
knows, yeah,
side thing for him?
yeah.
Gotcha.
Um, so the other thing that happened right before we went green, it just started pouring rain. It was like overcast all day, and then this storm cloud came across and dumped rain everywhere. And I was like, oh, here we go. Because I knew exactly what to do, right? Because I had gone out 2 days before, even though there was no reason to.
Yeah.
So they're like, you need to be, this many seconds a lap faster. We have an hour to go. The green comes out with an hour left. And the first bit was super fun because I was one of the first cars in line and it was wet. So I was like running with the GT4 cars. Like
Yeah.
they would kind of power away from the straights and then I'd go faster in the
Were
corners.
they holding you
I
up
was
at
like
all?
having so much fun. They were, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
But then they kind of figured it out. And over the next hour, it proceeded to rain and dry out and rain and dry out, total of 4 different cycles. And it was raining from one edge of the track to the other across it diagonally.
So it
So like
was
one end would
very
get wet
dynamic.
first,
Yeah.
and the track had like 7 hours of heat in it from the day. So it would dry out pretty fast and then it would happen again and again. Like it was the coolest changing condition dynamic. And it meant that we were catching this guy sometimes like 10 seconds a lap. So we ended up passing him with like 15 minutes to go. And we finished second. We also caught the ASM car by 2.5 laps. So we finished on the lead lap, a half lap down from the win, like
Oh,
in the
dang.
last hour
Dude,
only.
you got close.
I know. And they got that pit stop under yellow. I'm like, oh, if that hadn't
Ooh.
happened, it would have been very interesting. But like the main thing I was excited about is like, how many times do you get the opportunity for the conditions that you love to like happen at the right time in a scenario where you know how I left Daytona feeling like I didn't really influence the finish. It was
Yeah,
like I
yeah.
happened to be the body in the car, but this one was like I went about what I wanted to do to learn the track and it paid off and it was like a really cool thing.
Like you were part of the result.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I did my part. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um so yeah, Sunday was super fun for that. And we had like a nice little celebration after because the ASM cars finished 1-2.
Yep.
It's really cool.
What class is that?
GP2.
GP2. GP2 engine?
GP2 engine?
I knew you weren't going to get that joke. It's a Formula 1 thing. It's when Honda first went into I can't believe I'm explaining this to Tom O'Gorman. When Honda when Honda first went into Formula 1, Alonso was getting passed on a straightaway and he came over the mic and he yelled GP2 engine, GP2 engine, and it's like basically after that season Honda's like we don't want to support Alonso anymore because he would just talk shit on the mic
Oh,
like during the race like to Honda, which is like supporting this team. Yeah, look, there's literally
we
a
had
GP2
so it's like
engine. Ah!
so is it like a Formula 2 joke? Like he's in a Formula 2 car?
Yeah, like the car's so slow it's a Formula 2 car, not a
Okay.
Formula 1 car.
That's kind of rough, yeah.
Yeah. So not Honda wasn't too pleased with that. Because it came into play when Alonso wanted to go do the like Indy 500 and I think like the Honda was the more competitive engine package for the I don't know exact guys I know nothing about IndyCar. But the team that he could have raced with had a Honda power unit and Honda was kind of like maybe don't put him in the car basically is from what I understand. So
Gotcha.
yeah, so maybe don't talk shit about, international companies that are supporting your racing on some level.
He still makes his millions. He's fine.
Well, yeah, now he is.
Yeah.
It could have been the end of it though. And that's the thing
We did
about
have two. Oh,
hold
go
on.
ahead.
That's the thing about being a pro racer is you never know when it's gonna end.
Totally.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that could have been the last year of Formula One for Alonso.
I think that's like the catch with any sort of business racing is the difference between being sorry, there's a hair in front of me. The difference between being um like beholden to support that's outside of your realm. Like maybe some of the amateurs that we know or grassroots people we know are dealing with sponsors and stuff, but like I always felt super lucky when I was racing for Honda that I had a product that was super easy to endorse because I really liked my Civic race car
Yeah.
and I was getting paid to like it was never hard for me to endorse the car or the brand. The team I raced for 1 year was really hard to like talk nice about because they were not very great to work with. So I was like, how do I be honest without being negative towards something that's supporting me but like not actually good?
Yeah.
And
Yeah, that
I
would be
won't say
tricky.
what year or whatever, but you know,
It would be
it's a
like
tricky balance for
yeah, it would be like like doing sales at a company where like you really don't like the product.
right. Like you know you're
That would be
selling snake
tough.
oil, but
Yeah,
you got to
exactly.
make your money.
But you're like, I gotta pay my bills.
Yeah. Hmm. We did have a couple little topics come up this weekend. Maybe I can get your thoughts on them.
Okay.
So there was this car in the race that was potentially some of the worst car control I've ever seen in my life in an actual licensed race. I saw this car spin like 5 times by itself, and only one of them was in the wet. It happened a lot in the dry.
Wow. Okay.
Uh, so we were talking about it, and we realized, hey, whoever's talking in the chat here, stop it. The 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 conversation was about I'm personally of the opinion, maybe this is unpopular opinion, but I don't believe that race car drivers, licensed race car drivers who have been through and licensed in some sort of way are should spin. I don't believe there is any circumstance under which a driver should just spin.
Uh,
If you're a
especially
licensed race car driver.
especially
Like you
multiple
know how
times.
right. So like that's an extreme example. There are times where you spin. I know I've spun probably at some point, but
You did at
if
Mid
you're
Ohio, but
licensed
then
and you've been
and then you went and won.
I did. Yeah. Okay, so it's not there's got to be more nuance to it than like just shouldn't. But I like if I don't know. Do you feel like what so I mean it was a very interesting conversation with like Aaron and Alex and stuff about like where's the line with that and how do you how do you expect someone to have car control and what are the circumstances where it's okay and stuff, but like
I'm
to
curious.
just spin, you know how like car contact gets enforced if like you hit someone you get in trouble.
Yeah.
I feel like if you just wipe out, like there should be some follow up to that.
You would see that a lot, not so much recently, but like when I was racing GLTC, there was like certain drivers that would like just like end up off the track like every other race. And it's like they
Yeah.
haven't taken anybody with them yet. Right. And it's like
Sure.
right. And it's the same thing with that car that was spinning. It's like, okay, well, like they haven't caused an incident yet, right? But like if you're not like in yeah, like Lena Lena posts this car from Daytona. Did you see the things about the LMP2 car that like spun? It was like it was literally one stint, and I think they spun like 3 or 4 times. And it was this,
Yes,
yeah,
correct.
right. So
Perfect example. This
yeah,
is a professional race with a licensed driver. You shouldn't be spinning. There's no reason or acceptability for you to just spin.
maybe it happens once, and then you're like, I gotta check myself before I wreck myself, which is a good episode. You guys should go listen to it, and maybe this IMSA guy should go listen to the episode too. Like it's like you have to you have to evaluate like what happened, and then like move on from there. But if you're just like, well, that was a fluke, that will never happen again, and then a half hour later you spin again, then like what do we like what are we doing?
Yeah. I would like I'd love to hear people's thoughts on this. If you have a thought, if we just triggered you something. Cause like like I said, I know I've spun, I've wrecked it, I totaled my car but I learned how, and I've talked about it on the podcast before. There's absolutely more nuance to the conversation than just like you shouldn't be spinning. But I honestly feel like there needs to be at least more accountability to people who are spinning.
So Adam in the chat says car setup error. Like if if that's like it's got to be pretty bad to be like just like uncontrollable,
Like,
right?
yeah.
But even if then, like, if the car is, like, set up that terribly, then, like, pit, like, you're still putting people in danger. You're putting yourself in danger. You're putting other people on the racetrack in danger. Because like, at the end of the day, like, we're out there for mostly selfish reasons, like, to race, but, like, you're kinda still working together with everyone else on track to have a good time, like, to have fun, like, that's why we're out there. So if, like, somebody's out there being a hooligan, and it's affecting the safety of others, then it's like you're being like a level of selfish that is that should be condemned, honestly.
How do you feel about the concept of you're not trying hard enough if you don't go off sometimes? You heard that theory before?
Who said this?
I've heard this from many people over the years. You've never heard this one?
No, I'm trying to me that would just mean that like you're not making you're making too big of changes with whatever you're doing. Like your incremental changes in comparison to where your references are um, aren't at a resolution that they should be. So you need to tone down how, like if you're trying to come up to speed on something too quickly, then you'll go off track. You need to kind of understand where you sit, right? Like you kind of need to understand what like your own skill level is in order to take off like the small bites. Or instead of flying off track, you just like miss the apex and throttle's delayed, and now the lap is slow, right? Like that's what should happen. Like how much extra hard you have to try to like actually throw the car off the racetrack, assuming
Yeah.
like it's not if it's wet, and you've never been in that spot on the track before, and you just put the car in like some weird random slick area, and you just kind of like go in the dirt for a little bit, then like that's different. But like when it's if it's just like a completely predictable racetrack and you're flying off track, then like you're not using your references as accurately as you need to. Is what my take would on that would be.
That's a good way to word it. I think the same thing. I hadn't thought of those words before. That it just tells me that you're not in control. You're not in control of the window, basically, right? Like if the window is going to keep you on track, and you believe that sometimes in order to go as fast as possible, you have to risk going off track. I don't think that that means you're in control enough of where that window is. But
Now
I
that being said,
etiquette,
it's not like I've never went for a safari before. So like,
right?
but in those moments, I like it's because I like wasn't using my references properly. Like I'm thinking of I ran in a race. I ran wide in turn 3 at Gingerman, and I'm not talking about when I went through the dirt. I thought somebody locked up next to me, so I bailed. If that's what that laugh was, you know what? Because there was a picture of me like flying through the sand trap at 11. Yeah, I thought somebody
Yeah,
locked up next to me, so I just bailed so like I wouldn't get murdered. I think somebody's inside rear locked up. I heard a tire like lock, and I just was
yeah.
like, I'm not dying today. And then like threw the car off track. And then in hindsight, it was like, oh shit, everything was fine. Damn it. Um, but I went off in 3. I just like I got on power too early and then didn't react to it in time and then just like went for a ride, right? But like I should have recognized at apex that my angle wasn't what it should have been, so I would have to delay throttle, right? So like I can
Correct.
like point at a mistake, but I wouldn't say, "Oh, I tried too hard that time." Like I think that's the difference, right?
Yeah,
Like I'm not attributing
yeah,
it like
yeah.
to trying too hard. I attribute it to like I was inaccurate with what I was doing.
When I was working track night for 3 years or so, if you didn't know, uh, I worked track night full time for SCCA. I was working like 40 to 50 events a year. So I saw a lot of people at a racetrack and I was in charge of what was happening. And almost every time, we had a policy of any significant loss of control or going off was a report to pit lane and a conversation. And that conversation was super important from my perspective to what they said. Because if they said something that was like, I hope that I know enough to process what they're thinking.
Yeah.
If they're giving me like what happened, and it's always a friendly like, hey, I used to use Safari or like wilderness exploring
Yeah.
a little bit, like went little exploring, huh? And if the answer was like, yeah, and then they use words that make sense in a process, like I made this mistake and here's when I realized it and I couldn't catch it in time, so this it won't happen again. It's like, cool, you get it. but there was too frequently, and it was always an advanced group driver that would go off in the first session, first couple laps usually, and it was always like either my tires were cold
Oh
or
no,
something
that's
like
the
that.
worst
It was like
excuse.
the non-learning answer, and I'm like, "Advanced group, huh? Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
okay."
That's the
And I
worst
feel
answer.
like that's the
My tires
mentality
are
of
cold.
like
That's why I went off. It's like, dude, drive the
yeah,
car that's underneath you. What are you doing?
right. But that's the similar mentality of sometimes in order to go as fast as you can, you have to go off sometimes.
Also, I like the way you phrase that. I'm agreeing with Kevin here in the chat. It says the non-learning answer. Like that is like the best way to explain because I'm having a hard time thinking of the examples, but the non-learning a non-learning answer is like such an elegant way of putting that, where it's like, okay, we could both recognize you were in the grass, right? We can recognize that, all right. But the reason why that happened is like that is it's on a spectrum of like, did you learn something, right?
Yeah.
And there's a million answers. There's probably way more answers that says no, you didn't learn anything than the answers that are like, cool, we understand what happened. We understand how not to have it happen again. Let's keep partying.
Yep.
Yep.
And I always would like if that was how that answer came out, cool, have fun.
Yep.
Just send them right back out. But if it was like a non-learning answer, it's like, all right, and then now we got to talk about this,
Can we get
and
some
you're gonna lose track
non-learning?
time.
Yeah,
Sorry.
let's get some non-learning answers in the chat, please.
Yeah, or if you've heard it, like if you've worked events and you've overheard this at a track, email us.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
want to
yeah. I
hear
want to
some
hear
like,
them. I want to hear them, please.
and the border between that and like a good excuse is so race car drivery. Like the sun was in my eyes and stuff. You know how race car drivers are full of
That's what
excuses.
it's, uh, I yeah, I'm trying to think of like, oh, that's the worst one, Raul. The guy in front of me broke too soon. That is like the worst one.
Yeah.
Like
Um.
you hear that one in iRacing
The,
all the time. Like it will be like some like underhanded sorry. Sorry, dude. I didn't expect you to break 100 feet early. It's like you just ran into that guy.
this kind of relates to the Tyler, the engineer from this weekend who helped us out. He was telling some stories because he's obviously worked with some like proper factory drivers when he works for Corvette about people as they age as drivers. He didn't say anybody specific, but he said sometimes the drivers will fall into a trap of believing they know enough to cover basically everything with an excuse. And when a driver stops learning how to decipher the difference between the excuse and the reality, they get slower without realizing it. And then all of a sudden, they are consistently making too many excuses for them to ever like actually get a little bit better or self improve or self assess. I thought that was a really interesting insight too, because he sees drivers. He is a driver as well, an enthusiast. And that's honestly one of my biggest fears is to end up one of these people that is unable to decipher when I'm actually in control. I don't know the words right, but it's like
Well, we've
in control of just processing why I'm not. And I know you're gonna call me out on the iRacing thing because I don't run data on iRacing, and I know that I like get frustrated. And you're like, Tom, the tools are there to figure it
I'm
out.
like, Tom,
I
we
don't give
can
a shit
I
about
can just I can
iRacing.
throw in a private data team, and
I know.
when you're beating your head against the wall, you don't have to. We can look at the squiggly lines.
Yeah.
We could just do it. It would be fun. We'll have a
I
great
don't know.
time.
That sounds horrible.
Oh
I
my,
don't want to go over
I'll do it.
data
I'll
over
do
a
it.
video game.
I'll do it. And
Eh,
then I'll give you like the
bleh,
the simple takeaway. Tom, you're trying too hard on entry. And you'd be like, okay, I'll back it up a little bit. Oh my God.
I guess.
All right, I'm gonna send you the
You know
invite.
my rule with iRacing.
I'm gonna send you the invite, dude. You're gonna love it. You're gonna be so pumped. Look, all you gotta let me do is sorry, did I just burp into the mic? I'm sorry. I don't know if it picked up or
God.
not, but I kind of heard it and I was like, ew. um, I just let me fix your rig, let me fix your settings, and let me get you on a data team, Tom. Come on. Hey, Bathurst is coming up. Wait, what are you doing the third weekend of January or February?
What does that mean? Give me a date.
Hold on, I gotta look it up.
The 24th, 25th?
Hold on, I gotta look up iRacing special events 2024. Yep, 23rd to 25th, one of those days.
I'll be at Road Atlanta.
Go, gee, Tom, you're driving so many things.
Sorry.
What are you gonna be there? Oh, for Champ Car, right?
No, for testing the new car.
Oh, Okay.
Oh,
Oh, that would be
you'll hear
fun.
about that someday,
What
listener.
what events happening? Is it just like some track day?
Yeah, I think it's Chin, maybe? Road Atlanta?
I might be able to find a way down. Are you driving?
Yeah. Mhm.
You driving down on Friday?
I believe so.
I might be
Yeah.
able to work remote, like in your passenger seat, so like I don't have to take a vacation day and come down.
There you go.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll find out more information and you can find out if you can go.
Okay. Sick. That'll
Are
be
you
fun.
do you wanna miss the Bathurst 12-hour for that?
Ooh, I actually didn't think about that. Tim brought up a good point. He said I'm bailing on iRacing. I want to bail on my precious. I don't know. I don't know. Guys, hold on. We're bringing up some good points here. We're gonna hold off. I gotta reevaluate my priorities here.
Or if you're a listener that's in the Atlanta area and you have a sim rig that DJ can race from his account on.
Over,
Dude, they have a drivers club there. I guarantee they have sim rigs connected to the internet at Road Atlanta
yeah, and I
somewhere.
guarantee
Someone's got to
I
know.
guarantee they're crap because most sim rigs are not set up properly.
That sounds like a good challenge for you.
It does. Remember what? I don't know if you were in that league race or not. I tried to do a league race from SEMA. In Race Tech had a booth, and they had a rig, and I like jumped into like a league race, like at SEMA on the showroom floor. Um, and it went terribly because I didn't have time to like fix all the settings on the rig. So
Right.
I actually was
I
really surprised how much slower I was like jumping into a new rig than I would have been like just on my. Obviously, you're gonna be faster on your own rig, but I didn't expect to be like. I think I was like over a second off of where I would have been.
Sure. Um First to revisit the thought, I am open to you fixing my stuff to what you think is right and I'll give it a shot. Cuz then I can endorse your sim support business. And then also, I saw a video today on Instagram probably that was a guy set up a full sim rig on the beach. So he was like, he had a surfboard next to him and it was on a beach facing the water and he was on a full sim rig driving.
Oh, that's amazing.
I almost sent it to you, but I forgot.
That's you know what, Christine, that's how you can get me to a beach.
That's literally what I thought. I was like, when Christine wants to go scuba diving, this would be DJ.
Just like you know what, and like triples would be a little tough to set up, so we'll just do VR.
Yeah.
Just on the beach in VR.
You would never get it done because this guy had one monitor that was flat in front of him.
I brought a helmet. Well, Christine. All right, so Christine in the chat says DJ brought his helmet to Hawaii once for the LOLs. That's kind of true because I really wanted to get a picture of me like looking out into the beach, be like, I heard this was paradise. Where are all the race cars? Like, I really wanted that picture, so like I made sure to pack the helmet. But also, my plan was to like ride mopeds and like motorcycles and stuff around the
Oh,
whole weekend, so I kind of needed a helmet for that, anyways.
yeah, that makes sense.
But like those two things combined, like, is what made me like take up valuable suitcase space with a helmet.
At least with a helmet, you could pack stuff in it. What I've found is packing everything else is bad. Like this weekend, packing my suit and my Hans and my shoes and all that. I'm like, especially when it's gonna be cold. I'm out of space.
Yeah. Um.
Anyway, that was a weird left turn about drivers losing control and stuff. If you have any thoughts on that, email us about it. There, in the live chat.
Oh,
If
that's
you want to join the live
amazing.
chat, yeah, you can join the Discord. Brian Mukherjee just shared the image I found of the guy sim racing on the beach.
I love the caption. Bro brought a whole racing simulator to the beach. Dude,
Yeah.
that's amazing. He's got like a speaker that's like a subwoofer next to him.
So this reminds me, when you brought your helmet to Hawaii, if you could have autocrossed, because I know there's a club down there that autocrosses. I got invited to the club of the region in Alaska to come do an autocross up there, and I wanted to go so bad because that's so cool, right? Like to come teach a school on Saturday and then autocross on Sunday in Alaska. But it was a date conflict for this year. But someday I want to go to like somewhere else. Oh, we were just talking about that last night.
What?
That we wanted, like, how cool would it be to go live in the UK and like get a job and then just go to track days,
Oh,
and your job helps you like live in the UK, but your main reason to live there is to experience all the tracks.
just like yeah,
That'd
you
be
just
so
get you
interesting.
get to live like because like the first time you go to a track is always like really it's kind of especially like I mean at least in my experience, excuse me, um when you've driven a track a lot in like Forza or like iRacing or whatever, and you go there for the first time for real, it it kind of feels magic. Like I remember going to Road America
Yeah.
for the first time because that has been like my favorite track for like ever in like every game. Well, and Road Atlanta, those two together are always like my favorite tracks to like race in games. And going there for the first time in 2019, I went to both of them for the first time. Oh man, it just like felt like pulling up was amazing, like, especially Road Atlanta because like you see that hill like right as you pull in. Yeah, it was just
Yeah. And
super
you're like,
super cool.
that's what it's like.
Yeah, and then Jody Fleming brings up Road America, and like you're like, oh look, there's turn six, like
Well,
because like
he's
you're
from the
just
South,
seeing.
so he's
Oh, he
he's
might be
from the
talking.
South, so he's probably saying Road Atlanta
Oh,
too.
Road
Yeah.
Atlanta. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, okay. But yeah, Road Atlanta was cool. But like you don't see as much as Road Atlanta when you're like pulling in than as you do in because Road America, you like almost like take like a scenic tour like past the track as you're like getting into paddock. So like you like see
Yeah.
turn six and you're like, oh my God, we're under turn 13. Um as you're like going through the tunnel, you like realize like the spatial, like how everything like lays out. Yeah, Watkins is like that, Lena said.
Laguna is so cool because it's like a giant. You haven't been there yet,
I've
right?
never been there. Yeah, I was supposed to go, but
I
I
didn't,
couldn't.
dude. I've been playing that game since Gran Turismo 2. Like I thought I knew Laguna Seca. I had no idea it was like basically in a bowl in a kind of a valley within some mountains. Basically everywhere you're on top of a mountain looking down over the whole track,
That's so
but you can't
cool.
see all of that until you climb the other side of the mountains. You come over the top, and then you can just see the whole. It's so cool.
That is super cool,
Yeah.
man. You know, I was surprised how much you could see Watkins Glen when I was there in real life. Like you get on the
Yeah.
what turn is it? It's the last left-hander of the track.
10.
10. With there's a really tall bleachers at 10 and you can see like so much of the track from like the top of those bleachers. It was
Mhm.
like actually surprising because like when you see that place, it seems like it's really sprawled out and it would be hard to see. And honestly, if they did a little bit of tree removal, you'd probably be able to see way more of the track. But
Yeah. The Laguna was the one that caught me out, and then Sonoma actually when I went there for the runoffs in 2018 is very similar. It's like it's mostly lower than all the mountains around it, so you can see almost all of it from most of the track. That one was super cool too.
yeah,
Do you know? Okay, so you know Sonoma enough. Turning left up the hill is turn one. Turning right is turn two,
hmm
and then they consider that whole sequence where you turn left and right again, turn three. So turn two, oh, and then down the front straight on your left, there's bleachers that go all the way up, like huge, tall bleachers. Turn two is higher than the top of those bleachers on the front straight, and then you do three up even higher. It's like the amount of elevation and height change there is crazy. It's so cool.
that's like one of my bucket list tracks. I really want to drive Sonoma at some point. But like honestly, it feels like Sonoma is just as far away as like Europe would be to like be able to drive a car there.
Might be further,
Like
like distance. Yeah,
probably not. I don't. How long is a flight to like the UK? Like 6 hours?
like 5 hours.
Is it 5 hours? It might be the same then. That's kind of wild to think about. Raul says no. We're wrong.
Oh, I don't know. Believe them. They've been to the UK. I haven't.
It's 9 hours. All right. Is Tom on the Concorde?
Hey guys, I'm just that fast. Come
Yeah,
on.
come on, guys. Look, guys, it might take you 7 to 8 hours to get to the UK, but we're talking about Tom O'Gorman over here. Yeah, it is
I just had
easier
a
to
tailwind.
trailer a car to Cali, but like, guys, I work in corporate America. There's no way I have that much vacation time. Come on.
Yeah, it's true. Um, I forget what I was going to say. Lost it.
Gone forever.
Should we answer some of these questions that we were talking about answering?
Yeah, 50 minutes into the podcast, sure.
We didn't really have a specific topic to talk about, but then I sprung that question on you. I feel like that's a good. I'd be curious to hear people's thoughts for real about that, like the theory of when it is and isn't acceptable to lose control and where the line of that is. And
Yeah, there is a line somewhere, and it's definitely a debate that could happen.
I believe that if you're in a licensed environment where there has been people allowing you to be in that environment, so that would basically be wheel to wheel, maybe some time attack. If there's a loss of control, that should always be followed up, and you need to have a like you have to have a scrutineer that can believe you with a reasonable answer to the question, what happened there?
Yeah.
and that's not done. My belief is that's not done enough
I
within
I
motorsports.
agree with you. That should be I feel like a loss of control should be treated just like contact. Because essentially
Right.
it's the same thing. And unless you're like purposely hitting the person, but then that's a completely different thing, right? But normally when contact happens, it's somebody losing control of their car. There just happens to also be somebody there. So a loss of control, treating that just like contact is it's the same thing. It's the same offense. They weren't in complete control of their car to the point where and just that instance, nobody was in the way while they weren't in
Right.
control, right?
Yeah.
All right. I'm gonna hit the email button. We're gonna jump into it. Ready? Emails. All right. So podcast at lizardbrain.life. That's our email address. And we have a bunch of emails from people that have written in amazing emails. And Tom's going to read the first one. Did we have any uh, like no mic questions?
Yeah, there's a handful pinned in there too if you want to check that. So if you want to email us a question, regardless of topic or productivity, you can email us at podcast@lizardbrain.life, or you can join our Discord and you can type in the chat during the recordings and ask questions and talk with the 250 people that are in this Discord now. It's pretty
Yeah,
cool.
it's growing pretty rapidly.
So the first question I'll read because it is specifically pointed at me and I deserve it. This is from Pax, who's with us in the live chat. It is a marriage update and Tom is in danger. Pax, for the context here, emailed us about what video games he might be able to play with his wife that would keep her involved with an interest that I'm trying to remember. Like she wanted to play, so they wanted to find something to do together, and DJ recommended some games. So he's giving us an update. We've created a monster. My wife bought herself an Xbox and went to town on my Steam account for some choose your own adventure horror games that she loves.
Whoa,
I love
okay.
seeing her this happy. Yeah, that's cool. Horror though. Wow. She would not play the Xbox until she finally beat Luigi's Mansion on the Switch, though, which was the first update we got. She finally kicked that ghost's ass. Lizard Brains is saving marriage and saving lives. Unfortunately, this email must now take a dark turn, for Tom
Uh-oh.
has angered the Brotherhood of the Truckers, of which I am a member. I have many years over the road in a big truck. Currently work in the office for the world's largest international flatbed carrier, and as a side gig, I work at night training new truck drivers for Stage Tech School, which is paying for my NDSTR build. Also, the reason I haven't been able to attend the live recordings on Discord lately. Well, I'm glad you're here this
Yeah,
week, Pax.
welcome back, Pax.
If you don't know why this is happening, a couple episodes ago, I complained about truckers on the road because basically I'm just impatient.
Tom, how dare you? Pax is like the original. He is the original subscriber of the podcast before people could even subscribe. So
It's true.
Yep.
And like I said, I deserve all this. But he does say, Tom's not wrong, but he must still repent or suffer the wrath of the Brotherhood. Many motorists have been subjected to the 10-mile big rig drag race, but it's a burden we must all bear.
I love this so much. I love it when people are giving you shit.
Yeah. Look around you right now, and I guarantee most of what you're seeing came to you on a big truck. Without big trucks, America stops. Trucking industry has been over 100% turnover rate. Long story short, 1 out of every 3 trucks you meet on the road is probably driven by somebody with less than 6 months of experience. Knowing this, trucking companies do not spend much time on initial training. They just do enough to meet government standards, which is very low, and the new driver send the new driver out to make money. Any further training happens on the job. Adding to the fact of this is most trucks in the US are speed limited to either 60, 62, 65, or if you're lucky, 70 miles an hour. Popular speed limit set by companies, and it is all about fuel mileage. So what you end up with is these big trucks on the road operating within a very narrow top speed window, complicated by many other factors such as weight, which can be affected by uphill and downhill speeds, even tire wear, and then I'm going to throw in jerks like me who drive around them on the road. Finally, the motivation for the trucker roadblocks is money and comfort. You're limited to 11 hours a day. So while a truck doing a 3 to 4 mile an hour drop of your average speed on a 3-hour trip might cost you 4 to 5 minutes of travel time. I mean, that's what I'm worried about too. So I feel them on that. those 3 to 4 minutes, man.
Oh my God.
I know it's frustrating to be stuck behind these trucks while they sort out who gets in front, because one of them is 1 mile an hour faster on the flat, but 2 mile an hour slower uphill. Hopefully Hopefully, now that you know some of the reasons behind it, you can take a breath, park in the right lane for a bit until the clog clears. And then enjoy the fact that you get to zoom, zoom, zoom on the road while these hardworking professionals keep America moving. Side note, you'd be surprised how much overlap there is in training new truck drivers and training new autocrossers. PAX out.
I
So,
I
first of
wish
all, I love the roast.
I wish I would have played the Thomas Tank Engine music during that. I feel like if you guys, if you're writing an email and you feel like it needs some Thomas the Tank Engine music, just say it right in the beginning. I will fire it up. You will get Thomas the Tank Engine music, okay?
Yep. I'm going to throw this one in here too. This is from Cody Smith, titled Truckers. Those annoying, as Tom puts it, truckers are corporate trucks. And because of the trucks, because of those trackers, there's also a speed limiter. They literally can't get a run, quote unquote. Also, 90% of DOT license is learning paperwork. Be mad a stupid government regulation. Be mad at stupid government regulation, not truckers. Signed, kid of a self-employed trucker whose dad is very vocal about these issues and also mad when two trucks are holding up traffic. P.S. Tourists are way worse. I know all of this, and sharing any more thoughts on it will just make me look even worse. So thank you for the perspectives and the information. You guys are right.
This is Tom just being like turtle into his shell.
I mean,
No,
yeah,
Tom, top it.
yep,
Yep.
they're right.
Also, why is that not a lizard brain
I'm
coffee
impatient.
mug?
Because I don't have one yet.
Okay, guys, we need
Sorry.
honestly, Tom and I have been awful at ordering our own merch.
Yeah,
We need to put it in order, dude. Because I don't want to wear normal clothes anymore. I just want it to be lizard brain everything.
that would be so cool. It would be like Lizard Brains merch, Hawk swag,
Yep,
and Bridgestone stuff.
yep. I'm down. I'm down. All right. I have a pinned message in the Discord. It might be pretty interesting. It's from Jody Fleming. It says, please expand on the difference between the mid pack and the fast guys when it comes to pedal inputs. I'm working on my trail braking this year, and I find myself second guessing which turns I should trail brake on or when I should flick the car to induce rotation. Barber 2-3 is questionable. Turn 1 is fun. Turn 5 is way faster with trail braking. It's a lot easier for me IRL. I struggle with it in iRacing. It may be a setting issue because my ABS engages around 50% brake pressure, but I'm used to driving my S2000 with no ABS. All right, Tom?
Wait, Jody, your S2000 doesn't have ABS? You need to fix that.
Yeah, come on,
That's
Jody.
not good. That means if you didn't fix this part, it means you only have like heavily rear brake bias. Yeah, that's way harder to drive. Oh my God.
Wait, so when the
Um,
ABS fails, it's just like the rear's like way more?
yeah, Honda's bias to the rear like crazy when their ABS fails.
I know that on my Civic. I think I've told that story on the podcast before. I'm like, I'll be fine. And I barely touched the brakes. And like, I lost control of the car, guys.
Yeah. Did you learn something though?
Yeah, I learned I should go put the car back on the trailer ASAP.
Okay, but this is a hot take only from the perspective of semantics. All good braking is trail braking. So
I agree. There's no like,
the answer to your question, go ahead.
yeah, I don't think there's a corner where you're. I mean, look, hold on. Let's break down what trail braking is. It's using the brakes to manage the weight of the car, and
Yeah.
managing the weight of the car is how you're going to optimize the tires. If the weight ever travels through the center of the car and it's not moving around the edge of the car, then you're not fully utilizing. I'm sure you've heard this term before, the friction circle. So if the weight's ever traveling through the middle of the car, one, you're more likely to shock whatever tire that weight ends up at, and then two, you're not using mostly applies to the front of the car. You're moving the potential grip away from the front of the car when the car's still in a state where it could be used. So you're really managing the weight with the brakes, and that's how it should be every time. Now, if it's like a fast corner, then you might do like a brush of the brakes before you turn in. but that's mostly like that's going to be a stability and like a confidence thing. That's not so much of a like maximizing the friction circle thing. Thoughts, Tom?
Yep. So people believe trail braking is essentially braking while turning. It means that you're doing both at the same time. So people think that normal braking is brake and then turn, while trail braking is braking and turning. But the reality is all good braking involves blending into the corner, which goes directly to what DJ just explained about weight transfer. You're moving the weight from the front to the side as smoothly as possible to maximize what the tire can do. So to answer your question, to me the best drivers manage the overall direction of the car with the weight through the pedals more often than the wheel, and the wheel is only dictating the more like detail and nuance of where the car is traveling, versus the good drivers or newer drivers or people who are learning to drive believe that all of the turning happens with the wheel and all of the speed differentials happen with the pedals. Um, super hard to learn. I think that's why it makes the best versus everybody else. But if you're ultimately dictating where the car is traveling with the pedals based on weight and momentum instead of the steering wheel, and then you're basically just making corrections on the steering wheel. That's all you're doing. Um, which is why when you watch videos of somebody who's really quick, their wheel is kind of super messy. Like you've watched a driver. A perfect example. Go watch any in-car video of me. My hands are probably not clinically very good. Like an instructor in a classroom would be like, these hands are messy. But it's because my hands are not actually dictating the detail of what's happening and where the car is going and how fast I'm going. And all really fast drivers are probably going to be in this boat. It's just the better you are at controlling everything with your pedals, the less chaotic your hands have to be. Does that make sense?
Yep. Yep.
You agree
That
with
makes
me?
sense. Yep. I'm following. I think like the biggest difference you'll see between like the mid pack guys uh and and like the people at the very pointy end is when the car's at the like absolute limit of adhesion, the pedals are actually changing the direction of the car more than the wheel is. Uh
Yep.
so it like the wheel is a suggestion, but the pedals is what's making it's what you're making all your small adjustments like how entry went is going to dictate like exactly when you get in throttle and like the balance of the car as it twists in like how well you move the weight around the edge of the car on entry is going to dictate exactly like the how you get in throttle, the rate you get in throttle, like all these things like matter into each other. Like if the car pivots really fast, then you kind of like set into throttle a little bit just to settle and slow down the rear, and then you can squeeze in the rest of the throttle. But if you like maybe didn't get the pivot that you wanted, you might like get into the throttle a little bit harder because the rear's not like being fully utilized, right? Like there's all these like little nuances and things that happen. It will happen slightly different every corner, but like at the end of the day, like you're you're at a point where the the pedals are making more of a difference to where the car ends up than the actual wheel. Uh,
Yep.
yeah, like Tom said, that's it's a very tricky thing to teach. I think when I'm when I'm teaching somebody who's relatively new at it, the thing I try to instill is like use the gas to like take up the exit of the track. Like
Yep.
get in throttle when you think you're going to be almost running off the track, but you got like an inch left, and then like kind of get them used to like what it feels like when the car doesn't have when the adhesion of the tires is dictating where you're going to be rather than like when you decide to like drive over to the edge of the racetrack. Um,
Right.
so
Well, and the misconception comes from driving on the street because you're not driving at the limit of grip.
yep,
You do all of your speed with the pedals and all of your steering with the steering wheel, and learning how to become comfortable with basically back to the original question. We're talking about trail braking, pulling off the brake pedal as you turn in a way that moves the weight from the top front of the car around the outside to the edge of the car as smooth as possible. So, yes, the direction started to change because of the wheel, but it's exaggerated and emphasized by where the weight's traveling to get you to be as fast as possible. And he asked a follow up question because Jody's with us live in the chat. He said, if the tires start to slide, how will ABS affect the car? Jody, that's just a brake bias question. You're without ABS, if you haven't done anything else to the factory brakes, your car thinks to put a bunch of brake bias to the rear, so you're slowing down with the rear tires more than the front than the car should be, while the car is decelerating and the rear is light, so it's more likely to get. I'm assuming you probably think your car's really loose or your car trend's really loose. That's why. So ABS doesn't help the car trail brake. It's just S2000s should have ABS.
From the factory, they're not designed to like. I think I might be wrong here. And Lou God's in the chat. He probably knows. I think that it proportions brake pressure with the ABS module to front and rear to like maximize like each corner of the car to how much braking is being used. So without that
And if you do
module
something to the
functioning,
system,
yeah, if that module is not functioning, then it's not doing that. The car was designed for that to be a part of the car.
yeah. And I know this because my ABS failed when a wheel speed sensor failed on my S2000. And at NCM, trying to brake was very exciting. We'll just say that. What are you laughing at me or Lou God?
No, usually like it was exciting. It's like,
Yeah. Imagine coming over, so NCM 16, you go through Faux Rouge, come over 16, and then the amount of brake pressure you need to get the car to bend into 17. And then imagine it's like primarily rear brake bias.
yeah, it would feel like would it feel like an iRacing car, huh?
It literally feels like an iRacing sim setup, or it was essentially trying to pull the e-brake and then turn into the corner.
Yeah, that would be tough.
That doesn't work. But great question.
Yep, good question.
I wish it was easier to do than it is to say, because it's already hard to say, but it's harder to do. That's why it makes the best the best.
It's I think it's just another example of like all right, look, if you can properly move the weight around the edge of the car in autocross, then you're going to be a wizard at it on the racetrack, because it's much harder to do that because the pace that it happens is much faster. So like the precision that you need to like really maximize the traction circle in autocross is much harder. But if that's like the best place to try, because like if you get loose, then you hit cones. Like you don't go flying off the racetrack and then you have to be told that you're trying too hard.
Right.
So also, hold on, one more touch on it. Jody, you said that sim racing, yes, it is much harder in sim racing. But if you can do it in sim racing, then you can do it in real life.
Correct.
So that's another good way to get better at it.
Yep. The way sim racing generates that concept is perfect.
And
the way you feel it is not necessarily perfect, but that is what it is.
Yeah, but the muscle memory and everything that you're building, and like just like how you're using the brakes to like essentially like the way my mind thinks about it is like I'm using the brakes to like tug the car down to the apex, and then I'm using the throttle to like push it to track exit. Like that's just like the way that my brain conceptualizes that. If you can get used to that, like that transfer of brake to wheel, and then the brakes helping you get down to the apex. If you can do that in sim, then you can do it in real life.
Yep.
So,
do we have time for one more?
Yeah, I mean, maybe even two more, depending on how in depth it is.
Okay, I think this is another good driver depth question. This is from Shailin Wu. Topic: question about driving others' cars. Hi, DJ and Tomo. Love this stuff. Got a question for you. It's a personal principle for me to never drive another guy's car on track due to liability reasons. I'm not familiar with their cars, and in case of an incident, I don't know what to do in terms of who's responsible. So in general, I just straight out say no. Someone strongly requests me to drive their car. I try to get them to pay me $1, so I'm a hired driver, relieved of responsibilities if they enter potential danger to the car. What do you guys do in this situation? I got the question wrong. It was not driver dynamic, but we've talked about this a little bit.
A little bit, yeah. It's
like probably 70 episodes ago, we were getting questions similar to this.
Yeah. Like for me, I think once you get to a certain level with the track driving, I mean, look, anything can happen like at any time. In general, if something happens, like I'll do my best to like remedy the situation, whatever it is. If my best like isn't enough, then it's like we all knew what the risk were. But in in general, I have a couple rules for driving other people's stuff on track. If it's an unfamiliar car at an unfamiliar track, I'm cool with it. But if it's also unfamiliar car at unfamiliar track and it's raining, then I don't do it. Even though like I know that probably hurts Tom because he loves driving in the rain so much. But it's too many things at once where I don't feel comfortable like risking somebody else's car. If I know the track very well, um, and it's raining and it's somebody else's car, we're cool. Especially if I have rain experience there, then we're cool. But if all three of those things like combine, then I just like go, hey, like I'm good. Like thank you for the offer, but like we're cool.
Yeah. I mean, I've done this a lot and my perspective's changed a little bit over time, but I think there's a couple of really like clean rules you can have. The first one ties to our conversation at the beginning about uh, a driver that just spins, I guess is what we're talking about. But if you give me a task of going on a racetrack under any condition with any car and anything, and you tell me that my only job is to not lose control of the car, then I have like literally I would put my entire life and everything on that. That is not a problem
Yep.
because I have learned and trusted myself enough. So for now, I can self-assess. I think I'm pretty honest with myself and I can be pretty honest to say like I know I'm not going to just wipe out. And if someone's going to ask me to drive their car, I assume that is like the number one like question. Like they want me to drive their car to give them setup feedback or to let them see what it can do for lap times or let them ride so they can feel what it feels like. But above all of that is I don't crash it. So that means that like it's not a problem. Now I have been in the car when a mechanical has happened and I've caused damage to cars. But then that brings in the next part too. The next part is it's a very simple conversation with the car owner before you drive. If you're uncomfortable, at this point I don't check anymore. I used to ask every single time, especially way early with autocross co-drives, like what's the expectation if a mechanical happens? And if they said anything that had to do with regardless of what happened, you're responsible financially for it. I would not take that. Even now, like I think I told the story. I don't remember if it was on or off the podcast,
I think
but
it was off because we were
I've
talking
turned
about a
down
contract.
yeah, I've turned down like high level opportunities where I had a damage clause. And if I had damaged the car, I was responsible for it financially. I will never take that. Absolutely not. I can't do that. And also, I think a true professional doesn't have that expectation. So to tie that to your question about your friends, just ask them like if there's a big difference between if a driver makes a mistake and if the car fails. And that person should be a bit able to kind of like be honest with you. Like if the car just breaks and the car is damaged and you were driving it, I still want you to pay for it. Then choose if you're going to drive it or not. And if they say no, if it's mechanic, whatever, it's a very easy conversation to have, even though it sounds kind of awkward. And if their answer makes you uncomfortable, then don't drive their car. But if anything, you asking them that question will probably give them, first of all, they'll have to think about it, which maybe they hadn't, but also it shows a level of respect for their equipment that's like, hey, just so you know, like, first of all, what are your goals for me to drive the car? And if it's not on their mind that something could happen to it, and they realize like, oh yeah, that would be bad, they might change their mind. Um, I had a last thought of it and I forgot. Oh, that there have been cars that made me uncomfortable after I got in them, and I basically don't drive them. Like I either do an outlap and come right back in, or I drive them a different way because I don't want to be at risk of extra variables that make me more likely to cause damage to a car.
Yeah, especially
You
if
know?
they if s- eh, like if somebody's looking for feedback on their setup and you like on the outlap recognize that this car is not driving how it should, then
Yeah,
you don't need to do more laps than that. You like come in and go like something's up with the rear shocks or something's going on with this or there's
yeah,
some kind of bind or something that makes the car way nervous. And like that's why they wanted you in the car. They were like something's not going right. I just need another opinion on it. And then you jump in the car and then you tell them something's not right and they go, "Cool. Thank you for the confirmation on that. Thank you so much." Like they're like super grateful. And then they can start solving whatever that issue is. Uh the you know the most fun laps are when somebody just wants to sit in their own right seat and you get to take them around the track. Those are always the most fun.
yep.
Yeah.
Um, Tom in the live chat asked, "Are you uncomfortable in sense of ergonomics or car behavior habits, etc.?" Like anything. If I'm uncomfortable with anything about it, I will accommodate that because the number one job is to not crash their car,
Yeah.
not damage it in any way. Like the closest I've come to that kind of thing, other than a mechanical failure, like I had the brakes close to fail on a time attack car, and I went off at Gingerman and damaged the front splitter and all this stuff. That it was supposed to just be like a reference lap, and I felt horrible about it, but there was a reason for it, and I kind of assessed that. And again, it's like I had there's a basic understanding between me and the owner of the car that like that didn't happen because of me. It would have happened to anybody, whatever. Uh, where was I going with that? What did I say?
I don't know. My brain's fried.
Uncomfortable sense of ergonomics, car behavior habits. Yeah, whatever I was saying. I probably made my point. So just do a little bit of preliminary stuff, and if anything makes you uncomfortable, don't do it. If I know people who the simple act of driving someone else's car makes them uncomfortable. I like Raul in the chat shared the point that if you have your own car, maybe you can make the point driving your own car with them in the passenger seat of your car. There's probably other options, but the fact that you're aware of it being a little bit taboo is probably healthy. Shailin.
Also, sometimes people just they just want to share their thing. They're not expecting you to do like a crazy lap time or, you know, like teach them anything. They just want you to enjoy the thing and then talk about it, right?
I did learn the hard way when you do the fun experience of having them sit in the passenger seat of their own car. I have now added to my thing, like, give me a thumbs down if I make you uncomfortable.
Oh yeah.
Because there
You
are
know
some
what?
people who like they want to share their thing, but they don't really realize what's going to happen until
Yeah.
it starts happening. And after the fact, they're like, I didn't expect you to do all that. And it either was like harder on the car than they wanted, or they were uncomfortable,
I've done that when I take people out in my own car just because I can't hear them most like because it's loud. It's a race car.
Yeah.
But I don't think I've ever done that in somebody else's car, but I absolutely should. So thanks, Tom. Maybe I've been an asshole at some point. But yeah, normally in my own car, I have hand signals like we're done with this. Like, hey, slow it down a little bit, or like go faster is like thumbs up, thumbs down, like the cancel sign in front of you. Um, yeah, it's just that made sense in my own car, but I honestly never thought about that in somebody else's car. So thanks, Tom.
Sure. Like think about the amount of curb you use versus somebody who's never hit a curb before, and all of a sudden you take their baby, they're in the car, and you like pound the curb that makes the lap time better, and they're like, "No, I don't mean you do that. No, thumbs down."
Thumbs down. And then you're like, okay, understand. I understand where we're at.
Right? I'll slow down and ask what's happening, and then
Yep.
maybe go or maybe don't go.
So, all right. Yeah, good question. It's
Man,
what?
dude, we're so lucky we get to drive cars like that.
I know.
That's so cool.
It really we really are super super lucky. So, all right. Tom, you want to call it since my brain turned off at some point in the last like 10 minutes?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
That was a good podcast.
Yeah, I think that was a good one. Thanks for carrying the show this time, Tom. I appreciate you.
I don't think I did that.
I'm trying to hype Tom up.
I don't know. This next weekend I won't have driven any races, so we're gonna have to come up with something for this because I
Gotcha.
can't just talk about my weekend
Are you
for
gonna
half the
be
podcast.
in town next weekend?
Yeah,
Are
yeah.
you
I have the next 2 weekends off right now.
okay? I was gonna ask if I could borrow your hybrid like Hans device thing. Because apparently a normal Hans device in the Cayman, because the seat's like kind of angled forward, my head will be like tilted at the ground.
Wait, where are you going next weekend?
Not this upcoming weekend, but the weekend after that, I'm going to CMP.
17, 18?
Yes.
Ah, cool.
You want to come with?
Maybe I'll come to that with you.
Yeah,
Maybe.
just like
I
come
don't
with.
know.
I'm gonna be leaving like Friday, like midday.
Okay. We'll talk.
Okay.
What are you
Cool.
doing this weekend?
Coaching.
Cool.
I'm probably working. I've been assigned a special project at work, and I've been working on it diligently.
Ooh.
It's actually pretty entertaining. So I'm crunching large data sets, which is not normally something I do, but I'm finding it wildly entertaining in the most nerdy way possible.
I was gonna say I feel like you're really good at finding a way to enjoy a task and then conquer it.
I feel like I'm conquering. So, uh, yeah, it's I'm having just a pretty good time at work this week so far.
Cool. That's good.
So far.
I
We'll see if
I have nothing coming up.
I fail my project, then I'm having a terrible time. You'll know based on my demeanor on next week's podcast. If I'm cranky, it's not going well. Everyone.
We'll have to make like a filter that has a cloud over your head with a slow,
Yeah,
small rain.
and it'll be like whatever that meme is, like, he says he's okay, but he's not okay, and it's like with the
Yeah.
like the violin music or whatever. You know what
And
meme
you
I'm
have to
talking
say
about?
you're not. Yeah, yeah. You have to say it's Katy Perry because you have to say you're okay, but because they just won't understand, but you're really not.
Yeah, that's the one. Tom knows.
I
Um,
got the order wrong, but yeah.
Raul, I'm not competing because Peter doesn't have insurance for the car that covers competing. So I'm just doing HPD. It's just practice for one lap anyway. So it would have been fun to compete, but honestly, not necessary, especially when we're just trying to practice. If anything, the practice will be better because I don't have to. Oh, HPD champion! Oh, Tom, I need those shirts, dude.
Time to order them right now.
Yep, yep.
Oh, it might be free shipping. Let me double check this real quick before I say it out
Yes.
loud. Go ahead with your thought.
But yeah, I think just the HPDE and just like the flexibility of that will be just better for practicing, honestly.
I agree with that. By the way, if you're listening to this before February 12th, our what?
What? Are words
Oh,
confusing
sorry.
you?
Before, yeah. No, I'm trying to make sense of our spread shop. It says right now that there is 2 more days for free shipping on all products from our storefront. If you order 2 or more. So I believe that'll go through till the day the podcast is posted, and our next promotion will be 15% off everything in the storefront starting February 9th.
Yep, just 2 things, Lena. It could be a shirt and a sticker.
Yep. So keep an eye on our storefront if you haven't seen it before. We have merch, and the service we use is like automated fulfillment and pricing and all that stuff, but they run promotions that are free for us to supply every time. So it's sometimes free shipping, sometimes 15% off, sometimes 20% off.
And honestly, we could probably do a little bit better job of letting people know about those.
We could. Yeah, we're still learning, just like our video.
Yeah, just like the video that I just realized is really off-centered.
Oh well.
Take it.
Well, on that note, I don't have anything exciting coming up this week to talk about. So I also haven't been able to hear any of your sound effects all oh my God, podcasts. So am I guessing again?
No, you're not guessing.
Last
Thank
week,
you.
dude, I listened back last week. I missed by a lot on the
It wasn't
outro.
even close. I forgot. I had the program that we record in is called Discord, and it has a very, very, very good like noise filter. And if I have that noise filter on, Tom can't hear any of the sound effects or anything. So, Tom, I turned it off. Thank you for reminding me. You ready?
Yeah, it is kind of funny when I just miss though. But I hope you enjoyed this week's podcast. We enjoyed talking about our stuff, and as always, we love your hair. We hope you win.